Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to Infinite Manifestations. If you want to learn more about numerology and become part of a collective spiritual awakening, please don't forget to subscribe. Now, if you have a karmic debt number 16, your life is anything but simple. Karmic debt number 16 are just getting tired of being over analytical, and you are constantly in a battle with yourself and other people. You might get the feeling that the whole world is against you. Does this sound familiar? How do you know if you have a 16 karmic debt number? There are 4 karmic debt numbers, which are 13, 14, 16, and 19. If you have any of those numbers in your core numbers or simply born on this date, you have a karmic debt. However, some people will not have any of those numbers in their numerology chart, which doesn't mean they have no karma. Each one of us have good or bad karma, and we have to learn different lessons. Numerology is a very profound and calculative design based on the notion that we are creatures of the greatest order with a spirit that manifests as life in the physical plane in which we dwell. Every time we come here, we come and depart a number of times in order to achieve heightened levels of consciousness. Each life is provided to us as part of the process of perpetual incarnation in order for us to gain knowledge and become wiser. We go through a lot of ups and downs in life, share our happiest moments and our darkest tragedies. But the one constant is that we learn from all of our experiences and strive not to walk down the same road again. This is how a life cycle works, where you come and depart but get the most in the meantime, and when you haven't learned enough, you return. This practice will continue until you have attained complete enlightenment. We are given a range of experience, capacities, facilities, power, and techniques, which we occasionally misuse, and hence the rebirths to compensate for and correct our mistakes. We are given an additional weight or responsibility upon each rebirth in order to remedy the faults we did throughout our existence, which is known as karmic debt. Karmic debt is associated with the numbers 13, 14, 16, and 19. These karmic numbers play a crucial function and imbue different characteristics that influence how we perceive problems and troubles in our life. Karmic debt numbers may be found across the chart, with totals based on your birth date or computations based on the numbers representing the letters in your numerology alphabet numbers name. Learn about your numerology alphabet numbers to find out what your name's letters foretell about you. As a result, depending on where the number is located in the chart, the identical karmic debt number of 2 distinct people might have a different influence on them. For example, 2 persons with the same karmic number 16 may sense the karmic number's influence differently if it was determined from different spots in the chart. The following are some examples of karmic debt number 16, along with some typical characteristics and some guidance. People with the karmic debt number 16 may have the potential to learn a great deal of spiritual insight. It represents the annihilation of the old and the birth of the new, much like the process of enlightenment. It aids in the rediscovery of one's own self by eliminating what was previously, such as the ego or identity. When that happens, the person is no longer who they were before, and the only thing that remains is the same body with the heightened soul. Those with the number 16 as their karmic debt number may experience severe changes that will prove to be a significant moment in their life, an essential event that will eventually make them aware of their true self by first eliminating the false self, or let's say the older self. This change is a process with a lot of pain, and one may have to go through a lot of struggle to achieve this level of awareness, but once they do, they are ecstatic. There is a collapse of the ego, the loss of an identity, and the destruction of the self to build another, and this process is surely difficult, requiring much battle, trouble, and sorrow in all facets of life. However, this encounter will completely change your reality, making a karmic debt 16 more modest, lovable, and peace-loving. Those with a karmic debt number of 16 must be careful not to get preoccupied or obsessed with themselves and become self-seeking or narcissistic. With all of their gathered wisdom and expertise, they may have a propensity to look down on others and regard them as inferiors. This might have a severe influence on them and others around them and should be avoided at all costs. As a result, while this is a difficult road to take, the karmic debt number 16 is highly significant, defining a constant spiritual progress toward gaining greater awareness and experiencing connection with the source. Numerology informs us a lot about a person's personality, what attributes they represent, whether negative or positive, and it helps us understand how to transform ourselves for the better. People who understand this have the opportunity to assess their strengths and limitations and work on them in order to live a more effective life in the future. Numerology is a magical tool that may work miracles if people study hard and attempt to understand themselves from a different perspective. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to assess oneself without bias. It can help people learn more about themselves and reflect more deeply. Karmic debt number 16 obviously implies to love and understand oneself before allowing anybody else to love or understand you. And accept as many life lessons as you can and utilize them to improve every day, eventually accomplishing our ultimate goals with the assistance of the divine. trusting the circumstance, understanding that the terrible portion of overwhelming agony is just transitory and that the good part of your life will be much greater, larger, and brighter in the future. Everything depends on your perspective, and I know it's easier said than done, but a karmic debt number 16 is a really good and not a bad number because it makes you determined, focused, optimistic, having hope and faith in God and the universe, knowing your true self, being whatever you want to be but respectively not thinking about things from other people's perspectives, and not living in illusion, self-dependent, growing up a strong individual identity, stopping taking people for granted. And in the end, success in fulfilling all of our desires with your decisions and God, the divine, the universe, or however you want to call it. It's like hitting rock bottom and then growing tougher the next day. It's not how many times you get knocked down that count. It's how many times you get back up. Now pay close attention. You get to decide what counts and what doesn't. The relevance of everything in your life is determined largely by the significance you assign to it. People will sometimes try to judge your value based on what you have rather than who you are. But you know better, material goods don't really matter in the end, so don't just seek money mindlessly. Catch up on the thoughts and activities that bring you to life. Go for the things that are more valuable, the things that money cannot buy, such as character strength, an honest heart, and a feeling of self-worth. Allow them to accept you as you are, or don't accept you at all. Even if your voice shakes, speak your truth. Being genuine to oneself brings something spectacular into the world that was not before present. When you aren't sidetracked by the views of others, your passion and power come through as you follow your own path. When you allow your errors to educate you and your confidence grows from direct experiences. When you know you can fall down, pick yourself up, and go forward without seeking anybody else's permission. Always remember you are powerful, even with a karmic debt number 16. Remember that the primary aim right now is to practice adjusting your reaction to things you cannot control, to progressively get stronger on the inside, so that less and less on the outside has an impact on your inner serenity and well-being without your conscious permission. How many times have you thought to yourself, this isn't working, something isn't right, or things need to change? Those are the words and ideas of your inner voice. This is your wake-up call. More stress or a significant disaster are not required to get you awake. Nobody needs to tell you this because you already know. The difficult thing is not receiving your wake-up call, but rather responding it. It is difficult to choose to answer the call rather than ignore it. It may feel simpler right now to keep going and going and going in the wrong direction. But you know that if you don't let go and find a way out of this never-ending cycle, it will only get worse. It's time to pay attention to what your inner voice has been saying. Because, regardless of the real-world obstacles you experience, the most difficult and complex hurdle you will ever face is your own thinking and how often you oppose your own better judgment. No, you are not responsible for everything that occurs to you in life, the chaos around you, but you are responsible for reversing the self-defeating thought patterns that these negative events generate, the disorder within you. Go out of your way to prioritize your time, health, true connections, and peace of mind. Because, as the weeks, months, and years pass, the worth of a few items tend to grow in value. Be open to receive, and I hope to see you in my future. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.